What's happening? Thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can scale profitably. Today, I am very, very excited because we have a huge guest on the show today. His name is John Jantsch from Duct Tape Marketing. I think the only way that you might not have heard of who John is if you've been living under a rock. But John, thank you so much for being on the show today. Great to have you.
Bet I'm gonna, it's late in the day for me, but I'm gonna try to match your enthusiasm.
Right, well, actually, maybe we should take a second and you go grab some espresso or something. Actually, the only reason why I'm so excited right now is because this room that I'm in we haven't connected the AC, and so it's like 95 degrees in here, and I might start to sweat a little bit, but yeah, that's what's keeping me awake.
All right.
Well, thanks so much for being on, and like as I was saying before we start every show with a little roundtable discussion, and I'm very excited to ask you this question because I don't think that there's many people out there who have written 5 books, and you said you have your 6th one coming out. So my question for you related to reading and is related to reading and writing. Have you always been a writer, or have you always considered yourself a writer? And have you also always been into reading?
Well, I've definitely always been into reading, and I took the literature classes, and I got a political science degree,
Okay.
but I took all the literature classes I could take because I really loved reading. I did not get into writing, quite frankly, until I'd already started my business almost 30 years ago, and really it was because it was clear to me that as a marketer, we didn't have the internet even then, but writing for publications and getting my sort of educational message out there was going to be how people would say, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. So I made myself do it, frankly. I got a column in a newspaper and, things like that. And, just kind of, I go back and I read some of that early stuff and I'm like, oh, this is awful, but I just knew that it was important. And I think that that's a lesson for a lot of what we do. Speaking, another thing, I do a ton of public speaking now. I had never done it before, but I thought, that's going to be a great way to get clients. And so I just put myself out there and started doing it. And I think we have to do that as entrepreneurs a lot.
So because you're in the process of publishing your 6th book, are there other books or things that you read to kind of get yourself in the mood or whatever to write?
There definitely are. As you mentioned, this is my 6th book. All my other books have really been about marketing, SEO, general marketing strategy, referrals is one of my books. This next book is called The Self-Reliant Entrepreneur. Actually, what I've done is it's a daily book. So every day you pick up, January 1st, January 2nd, you get a new page. It's titled that. And so it's a page a day. And I've taken some inspirational writings from actually a period of what was, I think, kind of the first sort of countercultural period in America, the mid-19th centuries. And so we're talking about Emerson and Thoreau and, a lot of the stuff we were told to read, or at least I was told to read in high school and college from, Hawthorne and Poe and Melville. And to me, that was a time when America was first trying to find its personality, and that kind of, rely on yourself sort of mentality was just starting to come up. That's abolition, and the women's movement was just starting. We were at the doorstep of the Civil War, and so a lot of the writing at that time was really, I think, incredible writing for entrepreneurs. So I take a reading from one of those works, 60, 70 works each day, and then I write about 100 words, and then you get a challenge question to end the day with. And so to loop back to your original question, I read a ton and did a ton of research for this book, more than any book I've ever written, because I had to dig into all this literature that was 150 years old that was really fun for me. Some people would have thought was drudgery, but it was very fun for me. But I definitely spent a lot of time in this one doing research, more research for this book than any other book I've written. A lot of my other books, I just wrote, hey, here's what I do to get my clients results. You might try it. It might work for you.
Right.
But this one was definitely much more academic, if you will.
Now, of the books that you've written so far, what would you say is the one that has had the biggest impact positively on your business?
Well, probably the thing that started it all. I mean, Duct Tape Marketing, I actually wrote almost more than a decade ago now. And because that's my brand, that really kind of launched everything. That made everything take off in terms of kind of a global scale of, my work. And, my speaking took off then, and just, that book really kind of paved the way for the other books in a lot of ways. And it's, the thing that's been kind of fun, I mean, it really is the methodology that I teach and preach. And it's, while, that's 12 years ago that I wrote that book. And so some things have evolved. It's still the point of view of marketing as a system. And you install a system that starts with strategy before tactics is still is relevant today as it was, 12 years ago. And I've, unfortunately, I still find that, I run up against a lot of marketing folks that are very tactics driven. And, for the small business owner, our approach, the duct tape marketing approach and system approach is still, rings true today.
That's awesome. Now, do you remember what you were reading when you were writing Duct Tape Marketing to get inspiration for your writing?
Sure. So this is, you go back to 2002, 2003, 2004. That's really when I was kind of creating that idea. You had very few, the internet wasn't here, so we didn't have all the blogs and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, Seth Godin was certainly somebody that was out there already that I was reading. But I'd also read a lot of, Al Ries, Trout and Ries are probably, if you might have to Google them.
Okay.
But they had a book called Positioning that was great. There was another guy named Harry Beckwith that just he was kind of the first blogger. He had these books that were just 500 word ideas, and then you go off to the next idea, and they were all kind of marketing ideas. I am still today a big fan of Peter Drucker's book. Was from the 50s, but he probably more than anybody else influenced my thinking about systems and process and how you kind of approach marketing, same way you approach accounting in a lot of ways in terms of getting it done.
Nice. Have you gotten into the audiobooks? Because I just started doing audiobooks. I mean, I'm probably very late to the game, but I absolutely love it, and I'm doing like 2 a month now.
I'm terrible about it, and it's mainly because I don't have a commute. I don't like to listen when I run.
Now you're just bragging. Yeah, I don't have anything to do. I don't have to drive anywhere.
So I don't, I would do it if I had long distances to drive. All my books are in audio. So I've definitely recorded them all. And it's funny, every time one of my books comes out, for whatever reason, the publishers aren't the same that publish the audiobooks. I mean, they sell the rights to somebody, and so they're never quite sync up at the same time. Most of my audiobooks have been after, a couple weeks after my print books have come out, and I always hear from people, when's the audiobook coming out? Because there are people that's how they consume content. I'm just more of a reader. In fact, I've got hundreds of books on my Kindle as well, but I still love picking up a paper book and sitting in a chair and reading it.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into the good stuff about duct tape marketing. So, your Wikipedia page says that you started duct tape marketing in 2002, but you were telling me that it goes way back beyond that. So tell us the origin story.
Yeah. So I went, to college, got a political science degree, had no idea what I really wanted to do, found a job with an ad agency. And did that for about 4 years and just really thought, I don't like taking orders from anybody. I want to do my own thing. So I was pretty good at hustling work. That was probably the best thing I was good at. It was, selling. So I just, started out without any plan and hustled some work and got some experience. And, that was probably 1994 or 5-ish or so. And I loved working with small business owners. I got a couple of clients. I mean, I was taking anything, right? Any kind of project work, like a lot of people do. And, but I got a couple of small business owners interested in me, helping them with their marketing is what it amounted to.
Mm-hmm.
And I love doing it. I always tell people, I think there's something equal parts exhilarating and terrifying, doing the work for the person who's actually going to write the check too.
Yeah.
And so I really loved that, but it was really hard. I mean, I was, kind of used to trying to run my business the way I'd seen other agencies run their business, and it was very difficult with small business owners because the scope of what they needed didn't ever match kind of the budget that they had, or even the attention span, frankly.
Right.
So I saw the genesis of Duct Tape Marketing around 2002 is I decided I was going to create this systematic approach where I'd walk into somebody and say, here's what I'm going to do, here's what you're going to do, here are the results we hope to get, and here's what it costs. You want it or not? And what I quickly discovered, kind of trying to solve my own frustration, is that still today, one of the greatest frustrations for small business owners is buying marketing. Marketing, everybody's selling a piece of the puzzle. They got telemarketers calling them every day.
Mm-hmm.
People, are doing smoke and mirrors, to them. And so somebody that walked in and said, we're going to start with strategy. Here's how we're going to integrate all this stuff, and I'm going to run it all for you, was like magic, to them. And so I quickly filled my practice, started writing about, the approach that I'd taken, and that was right around, the time when blogging was coming around. And so I came up with the name Duct Tape Marketing because I felt like I needed a brand. The name of my company was Jantsch Communications. But pretty bad, I know. And so I thought, well, I need a brand. If I'm going to take marketing and say, here's how it's different, and I'm going to create almost a product, I need a name. And so that's when I came up with Duct Tape Marketing. It was really kind of more for my approach, but I got so much positive feedback from that it just became everything. It became the name of my company, my book, my blog, my podcast. And eventually, I started attracting independent marketing consultants and small agencies around the world who said, "Hey, we agree with your approach. We love small business. How can we collaborate or license or do something?" So I created the Duct Tape Marketing Consultant Network in about 2008, 29 or so, and now we have a collection of about 150 consultants, mostly in North America. Few in Central and South America, a few in Europe, Asia, but mostly in North America. And essentially, it starts with kind of the tools that we've developed in our process and our methodology, but it's really much bigger than that now. Now we really collaborate to help each other with resources, just like the agency that helps us do the various things that we need to do for our clients, because our model is mostly to sell that system, that starts with strategy. It has a set retainer price, but then the whole, there's common things that 80% of the world needs that we kind of figure out how to source and build with our strategic partners, and the consultant really kind of stays at the strategic level. But that's pretty much our model, is that we have consultants that do websites or do content or do SEO, but for the most part, when somebody comes to us, it's because they want us to do their marketing for them, and starting with strategy and then implementing on all.
So I have a question. Going back in time, was there a particular moment when you realized, holy crap, I'm onto something, this is really working?
In hindsight, sure. Yeah. Right. When you're in it, not so much.
Was there like a client that you were working with, or like something that you did where you had a light bulb moment?
Well, there were many of them, progressions of them, but I really remember the first time I went and I was speaking at a local junior college, that was bringing in like business owners at night, to hear about how to grow their business, just getting started. And I said, you guys, marketing is a system. And you could just see the whole room go, that's what we've been missing. Nobody else is saying that. So that I had moments like that. Frankly, when I went out and started telling people, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what you're going to do. Here's what it costs. Do you want it? When most of them said, yes, where have you been? There was no selling, there was no proposal. There was no, going back and forth, I was like, okay, this is a different way of doing business. This is a great thing. But then obviously, the blog took off, and I mean, there have been so many moments where, you can kind of point to all this stuff coming together. And I would say the one theme, if you will, is that I've tried to remain consistent to, Fortunately, it's worked. That helps you remain consistent.
Right.
But the idea of what marketing is, how you approach it, what you don't do, is something that hasn't changed. In fact, if you pick up Duct Tape Marketing, the book today, I did do a revision in 2011. But a lot of people would say, well, marketing book written in 2011, that's got to be out of date. But the thing is, the principles of what we're trying to accomplish in marketing haven't changed. Sure, some of the tools have, and there's this network that's come and gone, but what we're ultimately trying to do is, I think, universal.
Okay, that's a great answer. So, all of our listeners are agency owners, and there are lots of ups and downs in the agency world. And honestly, I can say that I don't know a single person that started an agency the same time that I did in 2012 that's still in business. Most of them have thrown in the towel.
Yeah.
So what are some of the big failures or misses that you had in your agency that you guys were able to overcome?
Well, I'd say early on, trying to chase anything.
Anything with a credit card to pulse, basically?
Exactly. I mean, that's death for anybody. I mean, I teach a lot of, or at least, work with a lot of folks starting their agencies. So that, that certainly it can get people in trouble. I tell you, the last 10 years, what I've seen is it's chasing the new thing. Building your entire agency around, let's find a niche that we think, we can serve, and then we'll do Facebook ads to them. And that's going to be our entire business, right? And then there's a little minor shift in the wind, and all of a sudden you're out of business.
Right.
You got to start from scratch, or you got to figure out a whole new way of doing it. And I think that's there's so many people selling that as the answer.
Literally, I was about to say that. I mean, that's the thing that you see, excuse me, on all the Facebook ads, all the YouTube ads. It's somebody saying, use this tool and you'll be rich. Yeah. Those tools come and go.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, really the real key is, to me, always has been, and this is hard because, you're trying to make a living too, right? But is to sit there and say, who can I add value to? Who can I help the most? And that's when we started doing that, we got a lot better at saying, this client's not a good fit, because they don't have the right problem. They don't have the right mentality, whatever it is. I mean, sure, demographics, you can add those in, but more importantly, we want to see opportunities where what we do is going to have great impact. And if you can focus on that instead of, hey, here's somebody that says they want to hire us, I think you'll make better decisions about who you work with.
Awesome. You currently work with a lot of agency owners, and I'm sure you've gotten to know many of them intimately over the years, hundreds, if not thousands. When you're looking at the personality traits of the agency owners that win, the ones who build successful agencies, what are some of the common qualities that you see amongst those people?
Well, I personally, I think it, as sappy as it sounds, is the desire to serve. You're here to bring value. I think is a great starting point. And I'm not sure if this next idea is really a personality trait, but the folks that understand that, especially when they're just getting started, it's 1-2 people, that their value as an agency owner or as the strategic person in the organization and the strategic client server is not doing the day-to-day work. It is doing the high payoff work of, working on the business, doing the strategic work for the client. So the folks that I've seen succeed at least the fastest were the ones that immediately said, I've got to delegate, I've got to build people around me that can do the work that I shouldn't be doing or can't do, as opposed to, because it's really easy as a, if you're working with small business owners and you've read one blog post about SEO, you are miles ahead of them.
Yep.
So it's really easy to then do all the stuff. Should you be, you get 2, 3, 4, 5 clients, and all of a sudden that's all you can do. And now you're doing work that you could get people who could do it better and certainly cheaper, so that you could focus on the things that are really the highest payoff.
Yeah, so this is a problem that I see with a lot of agency owners, more so the ones who are doing custom work, is that it's feast or famine, right? They've got a ton of business, and then they invest all of their resources in the fulfillment, and then once those projects are done, they've got nothing. And then they invest all their time and resources, and they're getting new clients, and they get more clients, and then it's just this cycle. Yeah. What do you do to help people break out of that?
Well, I think the biggest key to that is to always be marketing, and that doesn't mean selling. That means you've got to be speaking, you've got to be writing, you've got to be putting stuff out there that builds your brand. Because what I tell you, when you get to the point where you can actually say, you know what, this client's not a good fit for us.
Mm-hmm.
This client, okay, if we're going to take this work, we're going to price it right. Mm-hmm. Because there's some red flags here, and so if we don't get the work, no big deal. But if we do get the work, we're going to make sure that it's profitable. And so when you get to that point, I think that happens because people, when you hear people start saying, "Gosh, I see you everywhere," that you're kind of doing some of those things right. And so that's something that just can't ever go away. And I'll tell you, I work with a lot of agency owners, and they're the worst marketers in the world sometimes.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
I mean, they're out there telling, you've got to be on Google My Business, and you got to get reviews, and you got to be blogging, and they haven't done it themselves, ever. And so, that's another thing that I think helps is if I'm going to tell somebody that I can get them to rank in the maps, pack for waterproofing business in their town, I sure as heck better have them type in marketing consultant, and I better come up in the 3
Yeah,
back.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the part that I think helps really with the marketing is it's not an event, marketing is a system in your own business.
Okay, so next question is my friend Lee, he has this term silver bullets, and he says that, there are certain things that if they happen in your agency, you're basically dead. So what, in your opinion, what are some of the silver bullets that can absolutely just put you out in the agency world?
Well, I would say there are, I was going to go through the whole list, but
no, just list them out.
I'll focus on 3. Probably the biggest sin, and we're all guilty of it. I mean, in fact, anything I say I've done before, right? Is underpricing your services. I mean that, and a lot of times that's because you're chasing the wrong clients. You don't have a good message yourself. You're not differentiating yourself. I mean, so a lot of times we just get into it because it's like, hey, I don't think I'll get this business if I don't, underprice my services. And that's death. I mean, yeah. For day one. I mean, you're getting started. Sometimes you're just hustling work, you go in at price wise, but if you're consistently doing that, you're never going to get to the point where you can effectively market your business and effectively delegate work or bring in the resources you need so that you're not working 100 hours a week. To me, that's the one that I see the most. The second one I've already talked about is not delegating fast enough when these are just getting started. You can do the work, I got time, I can do the work, and I always tell folks that come into our network, because we have a lot of people that jump out of corporate and they want to start a business and they see kind of us as being to help them do that is, you may want to keep your overhead low and not hire employees and things, but you get 2-3 clients, you better be setting up an account manager system and somebody who's going to manage your outsourced partners, unless you want to work 1,000 hours, every month.
Which you could do, but the reality is long term, that's just not feasible. You can't carry that workload forever. And I know personally because I tried to do it. Okay, so what is the future for Duct Tape Marketing? What are you guys doing, and what's the future hold for you and your clients?
Well, for me, a great deal of what I want to do is, like a lot of entrepreneurs, I feel like I built this system, I built something that works, but it's not where I want it to be.
Okay.
Continuing to work on growing the resources that we have in our network, so that we can actually go out to just about anybody in our network can go out to any business and say, I can install this marketing system, and I've got this, team behind me to help me make it happen. So I don't really have any visions. I mean, I said we're about 150 members of that network. I think 300 would be a good number to get to. So we're kind of working on growing that. We do so much more. We're not a course. Ours is a, I mean, we meet in person 4 times a year. We have bi-monthly trainings. We have a certification process. I mean, it truly is a network. It's almost like an association, as much as there is the certification, the training component of it. But there's also, it's really, we help people build businesses from scratch, and then we help them really, a lot of, folks that come to us that aren't making what they should be making, show them how to get more profitable.
You know what? You might not have realized this when you just said that, but this, I think, might be the most inspirational thing, at least for me, that I've heard so far in this interview, because I look at you, and I don't want to blow up your ego or anything, but I'm like, this guy has reached the pinnacle. He's done everything that at least I would love to achieve in my career, and yet you're still hungry, and there's more things that you feel like you can do. Where do you think that comes from? That desire to just continue on?
Well, it's not, I don't have a perfection gene or anything.
Yeah.
I'm very much a let's go see what works, kind of person. But I really think it comes down to, as hokey as this sounds, I still every day talk to a business owner who's getting ripped off by somebody, or can't make it work, because they're working 100 hours, and this marketing stuff seems so foreign to them, and so the need for that is so immense that I don't think I guess I'll never feel like I've accomplished enough in that regard. And that's not me trying to be humble or anything. I just really see the demand or the need for that is so large.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, we are out of time. I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show today. What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Sure. I would invite people to visit either Duct Tape Marketing or Duct Tape Marketing Consultant.com. So I know a lot of your listeners are agencies and consultants, and I'd invite you to take a look at our network. I think it doesn't matter where you are in your business. I feel like we've got things that would be very useful. I mean, even just our annual summit. I mean, the speakers that we have for that, the Jay Bears and Mike Blumenthal is going to be there this year for SEO, and just what we're able to bring together as a network is pretty amazing. So that's ducttapemarketingconsultant.com.
And when and where is the summit?
The summit's in October of 2019. We do it every year in October. We'll be in Savannah, Georgia this year. And, Chris, if you'd like, we're doing a little. That's really just for members of the network.
Yeah.
But we're actually doing a little kind of test the network out type of thing, and inviting people who maybe want to check out our network, do a little coaching with me personally, and then get a free ticket to our summit. So I don't know when you publish, but I'll send you a link.
That would be awesome. And actually, I've always wanted to check out Savannah, Georgia. I've heard so many great things about that city.
Why don't you join us?
Well, I am heavily considering it right now. So, okay. So who would be the perfect person to reach out to you today?
So in terms of the network that we talked about, I'd say there are 3 types. If you're a service provider, a website designer, an SEO person, a content person, that's your heavy focus. I think we have a lot of those folks join us because they can expand kind of their strategic reach instead of just being a vendor. Then we have a lot of marketing consultants who are already doing this. I mean, they've got clients, and they're actually not having trouble getting clients. They're actually having more trouble getting the work done. And those folks actually, we can help a lot because we can show them how to be more profitable. And then obviously many of your listeners are already doing their own thing, but we have a lot of people that jump out of corporate jobs, and they've got marketing experience, but they don't have business or kind of a network experience. And so those are the three folks that I think really make up most of our network.
Awesome. All right. Well, you've been listening to John Jantsch from Duct Tape Marketing, the John Jantsch. Thank you so much for being on the show, John. Really, really appreciate your investing your time with us. To all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in today, and make sure you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Thanks so much.